Cheers. Blessed be, guys and ghouls. I've got my sister-in-law Christa with me here today. I'll link to her channel down below, but today we are going to be DIYing our water bottles.
Mine is a little bit tore up. I dropped it many times, but it's ready for painting.
I've been seeing these hydro flask makeovers all over the internet, and as soon as I found the exact same water bottle at Ross, I knew that Christa and I just had to do this DIY. We've been looking forward to it. Let's jump into it.
All right.
I am a little unnerved by how covered in cat hair this is. But it's always good to prep your space before any DIY. So we're gonna lay down a little bit of newspaper so that we don't get any paint on the coffee table. These newspapers I've had forever. Let's see the date on this. 2011.
Wow.
Well, I used to work at a Holiday Inn Express, and they get free copies of USA Today every morning. So whenever they would have old copies, they would always say, oh, we're going to go recycle it, and never did. So I would just take them home after a while and use them for all of my projects. And I still have some. That's how much I ended up grabbing. In fact, most of the newspaper in our backyard for the compost is all old back issues of USA Today. Alrighty.
Got some plates for our paint.
These are really cool. They're compostable. They're made from sugar cane.
Oh,
So they're
that's
tree
really
free.
cool.
Krista grabbed some water for the paint.
Oh yes, I grabbed grabbed some water. And we have a big thing of paints. We are using just acrylic.
Now, our secret weapon is a lot of these tutorials, I see them using Mod Podge, which, as you know, I'm kind of a Mod Podge fanatic. But I discovered that I actually have this dishwasher safe Mod Podge. So that's what we're going to be using to seal our water bottles, because that will make them washable. I'm going to put these down because I kind of have I have an addiction.
So I found an image online. I'm going to be basically painting this.
I love it. It really is beautiful, Christa. Like, the more I look at it, the more I love. So to continue our prep, I got some 220 grit sandpaper, which is the finest grit I could find, because one thing I've been reading is that, at least with the hydro flasks, they have a really great finish on them that's really hard to get rid of. I know Krista's been working slowly on buffing hers over the years, but mine's new, so I'm going to need some help. So we're just going to sand these very lightly.
Okay. Do we want to take all of the color off?
No. No, you don't have to do that. It's just to give it the paint something to stick to that's not a smooth surface.
Okay, some texture.
I hope everyone is taking this opportunity to make the most out of their quarantine. Trying hard not to feel like the world's coming to an end.
Keeping yourself busy with hobbies or just finding something creative and entertaining while you're bored.
Exactly. Like, I've been reading a lot of like Twitter posts about people who are taking advantage of this time to work on things that they've always wanted to do, be it projects around the house or learning a new skill, being healthier.
Right. I've been practicing being healthier.
Absolutely.
And just because the gyms are closed doesn't mean you can't dance in the living room or go work out outside, do some squats. Sometimes sandpaper gives me the shivers.
Hey, it's like chewing on tinfoil.
Yeah, so I'm like shaky right now.
Or like those people who chew on cotton balls.
Oh.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
I'm gonna make sure to get the bottoms here.
Dude, my bottom is all dented inward.
I love it. I love dented water bottles. I feel like they have more character.
Yes. They make it easier to paint.
Like, brand new water bottles, people who drink out of those, it's always like those people who wear designer workout wear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are you fooling? Are you really working out in that? No. If you're in like ratty t-shirt and like torn sweatpants, then I believe you're actually working out regularly. All right, so now that these have been adequately sanded, we're gonna go ahead and just give them a quick wipe with a damp paper towel.
Okay.
Just to get rid of all this dust. I thought Ray was looking through the window at us a little unnerved. So now that our water bottles have been washed and dried, we're gonna go ahead and put on our base coat of paint. So this is gonna be that background color you want.
Yes, my background is black.
What a coincidence.
Is yours black too?
Do you really need to ask?
Everything you have is black.
I hate how old acrylic paint gets all smelly and chunky. I feel like yours is a better consistency. Mine's like really runny.
Yeah, do you want some of this one?
I'll try mine. Who knows? They probably work the same. And you don't have to worry about your brushes being in super great condition because we're just going to be sealing over this. So any texturing that will happen is going to get forgiven by the Mod Podge. How long have you had this water bottle for, BT Dubs?
I got it when Paradise was a baby, and she's almost 3.
So if it's not opaque, don't sweat it. We can always do more than one coat.
Okay, mine's all has a bunch of white lines, so.
Mine too. It's definitely not the desired effect quite yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We take time. And the nice thing about acrylic paint is it dries crazy fast.
Yeah, and then we could get our second coat on there.
And then once it dries a little bit more, I'll flip it over and paint the bottom as well because I want it to be pretty consistent. Best thing about this is it's going to be a one-of-a-kind object that you poured your soul into. If your water bottle wasn't a crime, someone could pick it out of the lineup.
If you do a crime, I'm holding your water bottle.
There you go.
You'll get caught. What is something really positive that happened to you this week?
Sorry this is taking so long. It's not that I'm negative. It's that
A lot has happened.
a lot has happened. And it's been little moments that are really positive to me. Just little things that I'm just so grateful and happy for. Like last night when Rory tried to nurse on my cheek.
Oh,
Like that was so silly, but it was such a great moment. Well, what's something you've been really grateful and positive about this week?
I am really grateful for having more time at home and being able to read a book or go lay in the sun. And I'm thankful for we've been having more like family dinners, which is pretty cool. Baking more bread. It's been a lot more homey.
We've just been a lot more patient with each other too. Like things are slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
There's certain like parenting type things I've been wanting to implement, but I don't usually spend enough time to be able to really enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, because I'm such a Montessori nerd, and they talk about how it's important to have times where you read during the day, where you, the parent, are reading during the day,
Mm-hmm.
so that your child can watch you read and help instill them a desire to read. And one of the things she talks about to help with that is if you are reading, not to let your child interrupt you. So like earlier, I was reading my book on Wicca crafting, which I'll talk about some other time. And Paradise kept trying to get me to go play with her or try to get my attention away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And not away from her, but away from the book to her. And I kept telling her, no, Paradise, I'm reading right now. As soon as I'm done reading, we can play. And she was very patient about it, and she waited. And when I was finished with my book, I went and played with her, and she was really happy about that. But it's just really important to say, like, you know, this is reading time, and reading is important to me, and I'm having fun doing it, so I don't want to be interrupted. It's also the first time I've read through a book in, like, a year. I always, like, I'll try to read a book right before I fall asleep, and either I'm nursing, so I can't really juggle a book while I'm nursing,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll, like, open it up and, like, fall asleep.
before they even read the first sentence.
Exactly. Because I know you're a reader as well.
Yes.
What's something good you've been reading lately?
I've been reading this book called The Lost Teachings of Atlantis. It's basically like theories about how, like, why life first started.
Why life or how life?
How life and why. Like, how and why. It's pretty interesting. They're just theories, and the book also, like, helps me, like, stay motivated to meditate, because it always talks about the benefits of meditating.
All right, so let's just take 5 to drink our beers and enjoy the fact that the men are watching the kids while we wait for paint to dry.
Yes. Have some.
For St. Patrick's Day, I made some Guinness beer bread. And I was just thinking the other night, I bet an IPA beer bread would be really good. Like with a really strong IPA.
Like some hoppy bread?
Yeah. I bet that'd be tasty. We'll have to try it once we can get bread flour, since apparently that's not a thing. I didn't realize bread flour was in such high demand until we tried to get some and couldn't.
Every store that I went to was out of it.
And since we went to get it, or you went to get it, on Facebook, like, I saw all these posts from my friends being like, oh, I'm gonna make bread, like, all out of bread, time to make bread. So I guess it is just a thing people are starting to do now. I feel like bread making is something people don't really do that much anymore, or they take it for granted, because going to the store and buying really nice bread is so easy. But
homemade bread is just, it's so good. If you haven't made homemade bread yet, you have to.
And it's just, you know, how magical is it that you take flour, water, salt, yeast, and make this just delicious loaf of nutrition that dates back thousands of years. It's just, it's like alchemy.
Yes.
It's so wonderful. I love that people are getting more into it, but I don't love that it means it's harder for me to get bread flour.
If they, you know, left some for everybody else. Panic buying is pretty crazy.
Oh gosh, it's bananas. People are just, you know, if people would shop normally for just 1 week, all the stores would go back to normal.
And everybody would have the ingredients they needed.
Exactly. It's just people panic buying is just throwing the whole system out of whack. Like, I get it. I mean, I spent half of our grocery budget on one trip. But it's also just, granted, I got swept up in everyone else's panic buying. But
Right.
I also wasn't being obnoxious about it.
You didn't come home with like 30 cases of toilet paper.
No, I came home with no toilet paper because I knew we had 9 rolls at home and that would last us for a while. Ish. I feel like people are starting to get it though. They're starting to get that wasn't the best thing for the community, and we all need to band together as a community to make this work.
Yeah, we have to come together.
Like, the top hat's kind of dry, right? That's the thing I like about water-based paints like acrylics. And with oils, if you try to layer oil bases before they're dry, it gets really bad. You get a lot of really weird reactions. You get crackling, you get paint that never dries ever.
Wow.
It's just bad. It's bad news. Like with oil-based paints, like spray paint, you really, really have to wait for it to dry completely before you add the next layer. Water-based paints, they dry more quickly, and if you try to paint before it's dry, worst case, you just bring up the stuff that you already painted. Like, it's not that bad.
Oh, and then painting class, there was this way that I was taught that to go like this with your paintbrush right here when you're spreading it wide.
That's kind of cool. Like,
yeah, like that. I learned a lot of different brush strokes.
I didn't know you took a painting class. When was this?
Like 2014.
All right, so this is through college.
Yeah, through college.
Nice. Did we ever tell you about the art class your brother and I took?
No.
So we both decided to sign up for a art class. It was like a beginning art class as a prerequisite for other art classes. We both signed up for it, and it was taught by a husband and wife. So they were a couple, and we were on the wait list, and they were trying to decide who was going to make the cut because they couldn't take everyone. And they looked at Rayu and I, and they're like, oh, they're a couple. We have to take them.
What?
Because they were a couple, too.
That's really cool.
They took us, and we really, really enjoyed it. It was a cool class. And at the end of the semester, they said usually when they take couples into their class, it's a disaster. Like, inevitably, one person's more invested than the other. And, you know, it's not great. But they said, like, we proved that wrong because we were both equally passionate about the class and equally into it.
That's pretty awesome.
So, yeah, it made us happy. I think we still have the drawings from that class. It was funny. There was a point where they had you draw portraits of your partner. One thing I should recommend to everyone, if you value your relationship, never draw a portrait of your partner.
I want to know how this went.
Basically, Rayu said I made him look 300 pounds. And I looked like an elderly man. So, yeah. Words of wisdom.
I would rather be overweight than be another old and the other gender.
Thanks. Thanks, Christa. Alright, so we're going to wait for this to dry, for sure. And then we'll add one more final base coat. So far, mine's looking kind of like this. My paint was a lot thinner than hers for some reason. I use a different brand. I use the Craft Essentials. And yours is, what is yours? Artist Loft.
So mine has a lot of lines.
A lot of texture. It's okay. It kind of reminds me of like the bark of a tree.
That's what I was thinking too, like wood.
Just one more coat for good measure, just to make sure everything gets cleared. Well, I don't think I talked about what I was planning on doing.
Oh yeah, what are you planning on doing?
So I've been thinking about it for a while. I work in a corporate office. Well, usually I do. Now I'm working from home. So I wanted something that was a little commercially palatable that I could take to work. So I was thinking, right now I've been seeing a lot of like death heads moths and moon phases. So I was thinking of doing something like that, like a big death heads moth with the phases of the moon arching over it.
Ooh, I'm excited to see what it turns out.
If I have any more room, maybe I'll throw in a few runes or something. I was teaching Paradise about runes earlier because that's what I was reading in my book, and she was wondering what I was reading, and I'm like, oh, those are runes. Because in the book they were showing how you can make your own rune set out of like keyboard keys, which I thought was great. I can think of a few like nerdy witches that would get a kick out of that.
That would be pretty cool.
And bottle caps, which I think would be really fun too. Especially if you had like really cool bottle caps, like some people collect them, or like if you had them from some sort of like cool microbrewery or something, using old bottle caps to make your runes would be kind of hipster. Oh, yes. I'm so happy I can drink again. Oh. Unwind with a kickback IPA at the end of your adventure, and we'll make a donation to support trail restoration and cleanup programs at Bay Area parks.
Oh, so local beer.
Yeah. Speaking of, hipster microbreweries, but that's really awesome. Hey y'all, sorry about any continuity errors. We were just waiting for our paint to dry, literally. And now that the black's dry, we're ready to move on to the fun bits. Let's go ahead and get to it and paint our designs. Ooh.
This is a bright pink too.
Right? I love that. That'll show up really great against the black.
I'll add a little purple in certain areas.
Oh yeah, that nice pale, like lilac color.
Yeah, so this color, and some white.
So after I was all like, oh no, I don't need to add another coat. Now I'm seeing all these spots that I missed.
It's all, most of it's on the rim.
I can't remember what that style is called where the paint is textured. I keep wanting to call it antipasto, but that's like a course in an Italian meal. But it is an Italian technique of painting where you actually use textures in the paint. It's very common with oil paints where they like use like the palettes and things to give it texture. I've seen some really cool ones in galleries. I saw this one, it was a classic. I can't remember which master it was, but they had used the texture under her eyes. Like under the whites of her eyes, they had used white highlight, but they had textured it so the light caught it. And it actually gave the illusion that her eyes were glistening.
Wow.
It was very cool. What I love about this is even if it doesn't turn out exactly like the picture, it's actually better because it was made by you.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want it to look like the picture. Okay. Exactly anyways.
Exactly. Not exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want it to look one of a kind.
Yeah. I think the picture that you follow is just supposed to give you somewhere to start.
Hurry up, drying my little brushes.
Because this looks nothing like what I was imagining so far.
I think it's going to look bitchin'. I have glow in the dark, or you have glow in the dark, I should say. Maybe I'll put that on the moons.
That would be really cool.
We'll mess around with it. Man, that pink is pink.
Mm-hmm. Black and pink are great contrast. You know what? I'm gonna use more white because the pink sticks better to the white than the black.
That's the problem with a lot of these like really gorgeous neon colors is they're not always very opaque.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that looks really nice.
But see with it painted on the white?
Yeah, that's
the
like
difference.
pow in your face.
So everywhere that I want the pink, I paint the white first.
So you're just priming it.
Yes, priming it.
I've got a dry enough spot for me to start working on it. Don't you love how we just live on this quiet little city street?
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have looked at a reference image of a Death Head's moth before I started this, but I'm gonna wing it. No pun intended. Worst case scenario, I can always paint over it. Adjust it where needed. Name 10 places you want to go in your lifetime that you've never been to before.
Hawaii is on the top of my list. I would really love to go to Japan, India, of course, and Tibet, and Egypt. How many places?
I said 10, but to be honest, I've lost count of how many you've said.
Yeah, so Egypt, I definitely would love to see the pyramids. That would be a really fun trip. And then India, I love their food. I love Indian food. So I definitely love to go to India to try their food and visit some temples and monasteries. Bahamas, of course, because I love the beach. I love sunny weather and sand. What are some places you really want to visit that you have never been to?
See, obviously I want to go to Norway and Denmark, Scotland, Ireland. I really would love to go to Pakistan.
Ooh.
Afghanistan. Actually, Afghanistan more so. Of course, you know, that's definitely not a tourist-friendly destination at the moment. Or it hasn't been for a long time, but it's just, I've heard it's just so beautiful there, and it's just the cradle of humanity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our humanity, civilization's whole history stems from there. And I'd love to go and see the ruins and relics that are there while they're still there. Ooh, and Malta. I want to go to Malta so bad.
Ah, I've never heard of that place until you.
It's great because it's starting to get popular now, but for a long time it really wasn't considered like a top tourist destination. So a lot of their sites and history, it's just all very untouched.
Mm-hmm.
It's still it's such a small country. I'd just love to check it out.
I would love to go to Africa and go on a safari.
Nice. Any particular part of Africa?
Nope. It's huge.
It is huge.
I bet there's so many good places. I'll probably have to do some research to find which places are top. Alright, I hear that there's a lot of really good beach areas in Africa.
I've heard that too. You don't really see that get advertised.
No.
You never see magazines splattered with the pictures of beaches from the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, and I bet they are so beautiful.
So the thing about moth wings, like butterfly wings, is they're not identical. Bugs the hell out of you. Which I know it shouldn't, because the whole idea of this is that, it doesn't have to be perfect. But still, I can see it. You know what movie I'd love to see? Again, what I'm in the mood for? Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Did I watch that?
I think you have.
I always hear about that, but I don't remember watching it.
You may have to watch it tonight. It's kind of funny because the character of Ferris, he's actually a pretty horrible person. People don't like to talk about that because he's also kind of admirable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't, he's just so damn charming, but he's also just slightly sociopathic.
That's hard when you're charming and a sociopath.
Well, all the best sociopaths are charming.
So people can't resist you.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to be, right? Because you wouldn't get away with doing crazy stuff if you were just outright mean.
Okay.
This reminds me of a little potion.
Right? So I've got the silhouette of my moth down.
It looks good.
Thanks. I'm digging it so far. I thought about making the wings bigger. Maybe I should actually. Because now that I'm looking at it against that body, the body's pretty fat.
Whenever I'm painting something, I can never enjoy how good it looks. I'm always too critical over my own stuff.
Absolutely. It's no matter how many people tell you that it's wonderful, all you can see is that one flaw.
Mm-hmm. You know exactly what you did wrong.
And I don't know, I feel like memory kind of works that way too. Other people will remember an event differently.
Mm-hmm.
You will remember a mistake you made or something you said, while the other person just has no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of toxic. It's something we can't help, and I wonder why we do that to ourselves. I wonder what the reason behind that behavior is. Because it's so unproductive. It's not like you can do anything about it. It's not obsessing over it will make it not happen. It's better to just, learn from your experiences and not think about that.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to, if you are being really critical on yourself, remember that no one else remembers it.
Exactly.
And it's okay to let it go.
That pink and that purple together are great.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like painting on surfaces that aren't completely dry. Because then you get this cool, mixed paint effect.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. A little bit of gray. It looks gray now, a little bit tinted.
Because the thing about art is, you want to be true to your medium. I mean, of course, a lot of people aim for photographic effects, but, you still, even when you're aiming to have your painting look photographic, you still want it to be obvious that it's a painting. Because that's what makes it so impressive, is that you made a painting that looks like a photograph. So, for me, like, if I'm painting something, then I want to be true to that medium and make sure that the fact that it is painted, not printed, not drawn, painted, I want that to come through in the medium I'm using.
I did these kind of pink because they remind me of flamingos.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you ever get that concentration face when you're painting?
Probably the one I'm wearing now.
Yeah, I always put my lips out like this.
I once dated a guy who literally would stick out his tongue.
Yeah. That's too funny.
Right? I always thought it was kind of endearing. You ever paint and just hear Bob Ross talking to you in your head?
No. Have you?
Occasionally. Where it's just like, alright, so we're gonna go in here with this beautiful midnight black and just shave away some of this little moth here and this happy little moth in this nighttime sky.
I'm not disappointed, but I do feel like a little rusty at painting.
See, I'm digging it. And plus, you're still working at it. Definitely will be able to pick that out of a lino.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I like it.
Right? I think I'm getting it. I'm staring at it because I'm not sure if my scale is quite what I want it to be. And I'm still kind of making a few tweaks here and there, but I'm really pleased with the moon.
I really like your moon.
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
I don't know what that middle piece is.
And also feel free to experiment with different brush sizes. I find using a smaller brush is really helpful sometimes.
Yeah. Alright, I put little circles in there as filler.
Hey, why not? Hey guys, so Christa had to run to work, so we're gonna put a pin on this for now, let our projects dry, and pick this up another day. And we're back thanks to the magic of film. These have been left to dry overnight, so we're gonna go ahead and get back to it. I've noticed a couple spots where the paint has flaked off on mine. Yours?
Mine kind of in certain places, like right here.
Which is to be expected. I mean, these haven't been sealed and protected yet, so they're gonna be really susceptible to damage still, so keep that in mind. I just woke up from a nap with the baby, who you will be hearing because he's playing on the floor next to us, so I'm gonna drink up. Cheers.
Cheers.
Nice. Quarantine tip number 37, make your own iced coffee at home.
So much better.
It saves you so much money. Shimmy, shimmy.
Yes. Let's get this started.
There we go.
I'm gonna use some of this glow in the dark. Yeah, glow in the dark stuff.
Yeah, go for it. Why not? It's your freaking water bottle, right?
Mm-hmm. Have it make it findable in the dark.
It must be so weird for you having not been able to use this water bottle today.
I've been dehydrated all day.
It's normally like glued to your hand.
Mm-hmm. I bring my water bottle everywhere.
It really helps though. Having a cool water bottle really makes you hydrate.
Mm-hmm. And drinking a lot of water actually helps you from getting sick.
When I was pregnant with Rory, I was drinking 120 ounces a day.
Dang.
It was a lot. Well, they were worried about his amniotic fluid being low, which it wasn't, but I didn't know that at the time. But it got me in the habit of taking my hydration really, really seriously while I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a habit I definitely want to keep up. I feel like once you're properly hydrated, your body starts to crave it. It's like, oh, so this is what hydration is supposed to feel like.
Yeah, if I don't stay hydrated, my lips get really chapped.
Exactly. So it's like, I feel like I didn't drink any water my entirety of the 20s. Like, my whole 20s, I didn't drink any water, really.
Me too. Like, in my 20s, I don't remember ever drinking water. Seriously. Like, maybe once after a run.
But now, it's just like, we're in our 30s now. We're getting older. Like, it's just, we don't bounce back like we used to. It's important to drink water. Name a food you love that everyone else finds disgusting.
That should be easy. Ever since I was a kid, I've always really loved corn. I don't know why I'm not thinking of any.
I was going to say, corn's not disgusting.
Corn's not disgusting. I love Brussels sprouts if they're cooked properly.
Because, yeah, I was thinking, like, with the corn thing, like, Chipotle corn. Like, that has, like, a cult following.
Right. Corn is just so good. That's why.
I've actually never had the corn from Chipotle.
What?
I know. It's just, it's not part of my usual order. I've always wanted to try it, though, because people seem obsessed over it.
Every time I order Chipotle, I order extra corn. I just keep on telling them to pile up. It makes my burrito so big they can't wrap it.
Oh, yeah, I love that when they gotta double wrap it.
Mm-hmm.
What I miss is, like, ordering the quesarito. Not, like, they'll do, like, a fake quesarito where they'll just, like, they'll put the cheese in the tortilla, fold the tortilla in half, and steam it.
Mm-hmm.
No. What you have to do is you have to ask for a quesarito with 2 tortillas. So it's like tortilla, cheese, tortilla. They steam it, get the cheese all melty, and then make your burrito.
So it's like a quesadilla, but with a burrito inside of it.
Exactly.
That sounds good.
I don't order it anymore because that's like all of my calories and carbs for the whole day. But it's so good. And if I can split it with somebody and I have the, you know, wiggle room in my diet, I'll order it. But it's now it's definitely more a treat than the go-to. When I was pregnant, though, I ordered it all the time because I didn't really like carbs. It wasn't a priority. Feeding myself was the priority.
The nice thing about being pregnant is eating anything you want without even feeling guilty about it.
Right? And I still lost weight.
I don't know how you did that. Losing weight while eating everything. It all must have went to your baby. He wasn't even that big when he was born.
No, he was perfectly average. He was in the 51st percentile.
That is exactly average.
I was supposed to have my dentist appointment like the week after quarantine started. So like, it just sucks because I've been waiting forever for this dentist appointment. I haven't been to the dentist in like 12 years.
That sucks because we don't know when quarantine's gonna actually be over.
No. But that's all. He was just getting frustrated. Like, he's fine.
But sometimes you have to let him feel frustrated and experience this stuff.
Exactly. I feel like life is that way too. Like, the only way you can overcome challenges is to grow.
Yeah, and you can't grow unless you're faced with a challenge.
Exactly. Like, it makes me think about, I guess they did this experiment to see, I think they were trying to see what it would take to grow plants in outer space.
Huh.
So what they did was they built this enclosed environment. I think it was like in Arizona or New Mexico. And they gave these plants, these trees, everything they could possibly need. They made sure they had plenty of sunshine, plenty of nutrients. And they grew really big and really quickly, but then they would all fall over. They couldn't support their own weight. Eventually they would grow to a certain size and then they would just fall over.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know why. So they looked into it and they discovered that it was because there was no wind. There was no stress. So because the trees weren't getting stressed, they were growing too quickly for their root system. Their roots weren't growing deep enough to support their own weight.
Wow.
So I really like that idea where it's like, yeah, you can really succeed and grow very quickly if you're not put under stress, but the stress in your life is kind of what you need to build that root system, to build that strength in order to support yourself. Otherwise, you'll just fall.
You always think that stress is just an inconvenience, but
What makes you grow strong? Like, child rearing's kind of that way too. Like, you want to protect your child from everything, but at the same time, you also don't want them to be completely helpless.
Exactly. I saw a little video on Facebook of this 2-year-old boy. His father didn't have any arms, so the 2-year-old boy was feeding his father. And it's crazy how much you grow when you're in the circumstance. Because an average 2-year-old needs to be fed, not feeding another adult.
Like, I think about when I was a kid, one of the parent bonding things we used to do is my dad would let us shave him, which now I have to realize that took an enormous amount of trust, because my sister and I, when we started shaving his face, couldn't have been more than, I was probably 8, and we would shave our dad's face, and now it's holy cow, that's crazy. But
Let you do that,
right? But for us, it was a great bonding experience with our dad, and that's how we learned how to shave. To this day, I have a nick. I nick myself shaving maybe once every 5 years. We just learned to, it was, and plus, it was just a nice little moment. We knew that our dad was trusting us to shave his face.
And that's a great way to bond.
Right?
It was fun for you guys.
It was fun. It was just I don't know. It was a sweet moment.
I like it. The moon phases.
Yeah.
Is that...
Basically, what I was just doing was just touching up the spots that were scratched up from it getting stored. I am going to make the wings bigger, though, because I was looking at some reference images for this last night, and the wings need to be a lot bigger, which I kind of had a feeling. But that's okay. That will be easy to do, because this is paint, and paint's pretty forgiving.
You can just paint right over it.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how many layers.
I love how you took that Mandela image and just ran with it.
Yeah, it doesn't look anything like what I was originally going to do, but I still like it.
I like it more. The more you add, the better it's looking. So I know you've been trying to meditate more. How's that been going?
I've been doing a better job at it. Nothing is really hard as meditating when you have a child. But I learned that sometimes you have to tell your child that you're meditating and for them not to bother you and just ignore them for a while until you're finished meditating.
Kind of like what I was talking about reading yesterday.
Yep, you're the one who gave me the idea, and it works.
Which is great, because I remember, I think it was Devin was trying to meditate, and Paradise was screaming at him at the top of her lungs to wake up.
Yeah, that's what she does. She'll just start screaming. But then if you keep on doing it and keep on meditating and keep on ignoring, then they'll get the point and they'll stop trying to bother you when you're meditating or reading.
Right? Because it takes time. Obviously, they're gonna, they can be brats about it for a while, but eventually they'll realize that you're not gonna give in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes, I feel like I'm definitely, on the, more strict on the side of parenting.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I'm the parent, you're the child. I respect your opinion, but ultimately it's my decision, not yours.
Which, that's totally understandable to be like that, because you don't, kids definitely push their boundaries and push your boundaries, and you have to have a boundary set.
And of course, I've been a parent all of 6 months, so I am not an expert. I've always been that way, and I like to think of myself as a nurturing person. I've definitely been told that I could be comforting. So, because I feel like a lot of people who are strict are afraid that they'll come off as being like cold.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel that way. Granted, I probably would be the worst judge of how comforting I am to other people.
You're comforting. You have both sides. You have the, business side, the strict side, and the comforting side.
All right, it's starting to look right. What? Ooh, it's getting dark. I like.
Making your wings bigger?
Yeah. They're still going to be on the small side. I can easily make them bigger than they currently are. I love how you're very much a pink person, and yet you're not what most people instantly think about as a pink person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are definitely a pink person. You look great in pink. Pink's a happy color. You're a happy person. Like, you're very much like the embodiment of the color pink. But most people, when they think of pink, they think of like Legally Blonde.
Oh, yeah. Platinum hair.
Or like Mean Girls, on Wednesdays we wear pink.
Yeah. I definitely don't conform to a personality type. But I do love pink.
I used to have this pink shirt that said all my black shirts are dirty.
Oh, yeah.
This is an artistic rendition of a death's head moth. It's a real moth that has a skull on it.
So it's a real, actual moth.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
This is a rendition of it. The wings are totally, but they're very like prevalent image right now in like the goth community.
Mm-hmm. They're really cool.
Have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs?
Nope.
That's kind of what catapulted the Death's Head moth into mainstream. Because it played, like, the character Buffalo Bill, the serial killer.
Crazy guy.
Yeah, he raises these.
Oh.
So, this is what I got so far.
And this is what mine looks like so far.
Right, like I said, the more you add, the better it's looking.
Mm-hmm. And to tell you the truth, in the beginning, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I'm like, all right. So I think this glow in the dark is clear. So as soon as this dries, I could just put this over it.
Alright, so let me read these instructions just in case it has us do anything weird.
Okay.
Use on all surfaces, indoor, outdoor, top rack, dishwasher safe, water-based, non-toxic, dries hard, no tack. Roll bottle on table to mix. Apply with soft bristle brush. For glass, ceramic, or metal, clean surface with rubbing alcohol. Apply finish to surface and back of design element. This is if you're trying to decoupage something, which we're not. Dry 1 to 2 hours and add 2 to 3 coats, allowing 1 to 2 hours to dry between coats. So basically we'll add a coat tonight and then like add a coat tomorrow and cure 28 days.
You can't eat the ingredients.
What? We can't use our water bottles for 28 days? I don't know how I'm gonna live without this.
I think what we'll do, it takes 28 days to cure, but as long as we're careful, we can continue to use our water bottles.
Okay.
It's just 28 days is when it's going to be cured, set, good to go. So what we're going to do is just until that 28 days, we're going to treat it like if we used regular Mod Podge and just be really careful if we have to wash it or something.
Okay.
So maybe just use like straight water in it or something.
I think I'm going to use a different bottle for now.
Okay. I don't think it'll take like 28 days. I have a feeling like even in like a couple of weeks it's gonna be set fine. It's just I think they want you to wait 28 days before you putting it in a dishwasher, which we don't even own a dishwasher, so it's a moot point.
Okay.
Cool. Now we let those dry.
Mixing up this Mod Podge. Here you go.
Mod Podge.
Mod Podge. It's so easy to say Mod Podge.
Right? But yeah, Christa was just turning this and tossing it back and forth to try and mix it up a little bit to avoid air bubbles. At least that's what they recommend doing. Typically, because we're using brushes, it doesn't really matter if you get air bubbles anyways because you're working it out with the brush. It just makes your life a little easier. This guy I've never used before, so I have to take off the seal. We're going to be using brushes. You could also use sponge brushes if you prefer that texture. I think in our circumstances, just using regular wide paint brushes will work fine. But again, like it doesn't matter. It's just you do want to think about the texture with this last step, because the texture you use on your sealant is the texture that is going to be your final texture. So if you're okay with feeling brush strokes, then use a brush. If you're not okay with brush strokes, use a sponge brush. This guy is a gloss finish, so whatever texture you use is going to be pretty obvious. So make sure that you're being conscious of that.
Mine, it has a lot of texture to it. Will it even it out, or will my texture stay?
Yours will never be completely smooth because it is so textured.
Okay.
So you can use the sealant to kind of tone down the texture a little bit.
Okay.
Or you could make it more so. It's kind of up to you. It all depends on how you apply it. Real quick, I'm going to be taking off my lid because I want a smoother texture. That way I can set it down like this and get the bottom as well.
That's a good idea. All right.
So basically I'll be like painting the top half and then I'll flip it over and paint the bottom.
Okay. This stuff reminds me of the glow in the dark paint that I was using.
You're right. It's kind of like white glue because Mod Podge essentially is like a kind of white glue.
Does it turn clear when it dries?
Yes, it does.
Perfect.
In fact, the cool thing about Mod Podge, it's specifically for decoupage, which is when you decoupage is like, let's say that you want to make a collage or you want to add an image to something, you would typically like decoupage it on, which is when like you basically would apply the Mod Podge to the back of the image, stick it on whatever you want to stick. Then you would add the Mod Podge over top of it. So it basically works kind of like a glue and a sealant. So you can turn any image you want into a sticker.
Oh.
So any parts you miss now, most likely you'll hit the next time or two that we're going to be doing this.
Okay. And then it's going to dry on clear. That's
Exactly.
perfect.
Because it's essentially like a watered down white glue. Now we just wait for it to dry.
All right.
Alrighty, so we have let our water bottles dry overnight. Look how awesome these are.
The colors are more vibrant on mine. I'm so excited about that.
I haven't looked at this at night yet, but I'm really excited to see how it looks when it glows in the dark. First things first though, one more coat of the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I'm kind of liking the brush texture a little bit less on mine, so I'm going to hit it with the sponge brush.
I'm so excited to have a water bottle again.
I bet.
3 days without a water bottle is torture.
I'm so glad we did this.
Me too. I'm so excited about the new color, the new colorful. It's like getting a new water bottle.
Exactly. I'm just thinking, like, if I was to buy this water bottle on Killstar, guarantee it'd be like $50.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we bought this for like less than $10 at Ross.
Oh yeah, it was $9.
And how cool is it that I found the same water bottle, that we all found the same water bottle as the one you had already been using for years at that point.
Right? Mine was $15 too, so you guys were cheaper.
Good old Ross.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget that Ross and Marshalls are a thing. But they're really great for like stuff that you can't find anywhere else. Like Marshalls, one of my favorite places to get snacks.
Oh yeah, they have cheap cheap snacks that are good.
Mm-hmm. But it's like, who goes to Marshall's for snacks? But we used to go for D&D every week because the place we went to at the time to game was right next to like a Marshall's Ross kind of strip mall shopping center situation.
Oh, it's perfect.
Right? So we would just swing into Marshall's, get our snacks for the game, and go.
I swear, they have better snacks than CVS.
But like not even just like their snacks. Like, you know that gigantic thing of pink Himalayan salt?
Oh, I got a huge thing of raw cacao powder.
See?
Like half off.
And it's like, it's usually like really quality stuff for just ridiculously low prices.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like grocery outlet.
Right? Love grocery outlets so much. And I love how like invested grocery outlets, like on the whole, tend to be in their, they like invest in their communities.
I like that.
Right? Like it doesn't even feel like a chain grocery store. A lot of the time it feels like a little like mom and pop, like, you know, everyone who works there kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, I don't know everyone who works at Safeway, but we know quite a few of the people who work at grocery outlet. Or like my aunt and uncle also shop at grocery outlet pretty regularly, and like they're like on a first name basis with the guy who like works in the wine department, and he helps them with recommendations and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? But like that's a common thing with grocery outlet. Like I've heard that from multiple people that they know, like they go to, they trust their expertise, and they like clue them in when they have really great sales and stuff. They'll like call them up and say like, hey guys, next week we're having a wine sale kind of thing.
That's cool. At my local grocery outlet, the guy that restocks stuff always tells me when the trucks come in, so I can get the best deals.
Right? It's like, how awesome is that?
Mm-hmm. And then he'll show me around the store. He's like, all right, now get this. This is like 50 cents for like a box of yogurt.
I love it. I love it so much. I think I'll toss it. Like
is that supposed to keep the glue from leaking, or is that the seal?
It's supposed to keep the glue from leaking, but in my experience, it doesn't make a ton of difference. All it means is sometimes it'll get like a layer of dry glue over it, but
that's not bad.
It's just the cardboard just gets really soggy and gross after a while. It just disintegrates. So I think Mod Podge needs to rethink that particular packaging thing. Mm-hmm. Like even if it was just like a layer of like foam instead, so it wouldn't get all soggy and fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Or at least the plastic that gets glued to the bottom of the lid.
Right, something. But
well, I'm super excited about this. We just finished. Or do it need any more layers?
It says 2 to 3. So technically this is our second layer, so we can be good.
Okay.
So we're just gonna let these sit and dry, and then I'll show them off to you guys later. All right. All right, everyone, these are our water bottles. Please tell us in the comments down below what you think. Sorry this video was so long. We've been cooped up for a while, so we had a lot to talk about, but I can't wait to make some more videos like this for you guys soon. Catch you later. Stay spooky.